New Jersey Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill giving voice to what is undoubtedly a bounce-back moment for Democrats in New Jersey. What do I mean by that? Well, 4 years ago, Kamala Harris, as the Democratic nominee for president, underperformed Joe Biden by 400,000 votes. Tonight, Mikey Sherrill, the Democratic nominee for governor, wins easily, somewhat handily, somewhat surprisingly large, in a margin of victory over Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican nominee for governor. Weijia Jiang is with me, as with Robert Costa and Caitlin Huey-Burns. Weijia, we have a Truth Social post from President Trump regarding tonight's results.
We do, Major. It's the first time we have heard from the president since the Republican losses, and he is citing unnamed pollsters, saying, quote, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, which really falls in line with what I heard from Trump senior aides at the White House today, who said, look, off-cycle elections are what they are. We don't view this as a direct referendum on the president and his performance. They also suggested that perhaps Democrats were dragging out the shutdown because they're acknowledging that it is hurting Americans and could have harmed these races. But our exit polls, Major, tell a different story. In Virginia, when asked the question, was Trump a factor in your vote, 52% said yes. In New Jersey, same question, 51% said yes. In California, and we'll get to that.
We will.
We will. The answer was 58% yes, Trump was a factor. Now, in New York City, it was only 38% yes, 59% no. But whether he's directly on the ballot or not, he is there, right? Because people are thinking about his policies, especially I'm thinking about Virginia, which has a extremely high percentage of federal workers. So they have been directly impacted by Trump's policies, by DOGE, by this shutdown. And we don't know exactly how the Trump factor weighed in, but certainly, again, our polling shows that it did.
And what all of us know is, by design, President Trump is a relentless and regular force in American political life and conversation. So referendums come as they come, when ballot boxes are opened and people stand in line to cast their ballots. Robert, hold on just 1 second. Because this is a dynamic situation, we left Leslie Sanchez almost mid-sentence to go to a projection call for the New York mayor's race. I want to bring back Leslie Sanchez and political contributor and Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha. Chuck, we'll get you in a second, I promise. But Leslie, carry on.
Let's not overreach, though, on this New Jersey and Virginia election cycle. These are two states that traditionally vote blue. So while I agree with the president that the government shutdown is certainly something that played into this, and Democrats used it to their advantage in blue states, especially when it comes to turnout, for very fair economic reasons, to say just because the president wasn't on the ballot, those are two traditional states that consistently vote for the opposite party for several election cycles. So I think that's kind of a more important, bigger picture to take.
Yes, but Leslie, you know, after 2024, with the numbers I just mentioned about Kamala Harris's underperformance vis-a-vis Joe Biden, there was some sense Republicans had that they were making maybe some inroads in New Jersey, and this race might be a test case of that.
It's a test case, but look at all the different factors that come into it. I don't think it's a fair observation. I think when we get to midterms next year is really going to be a stronger take, more candidates on the ballot, more issues, more economic reforms. And we're going to have a quick look at how this new type of leadership is going to affect. One thing we already know from New York is the exodus has started. We heard about real estate rates. People are looking at leaving the state because of the high taxes that they anticipate coming. So we're going to be able to test both Republicans and Democrats next election cycle very soon.
Chuck, the floor is yours.
I would push back on my good sister Leslie on two things. There's a Republican governor of Virginia right now. It ain't that blue. And also in New Jersey, just 4 years ago, Democrats only won by 2 points. And this is the first time in New Jersey's history of the last 65 years that a Democrat has been reelected after serving as the governor. What's going on here is affordability. I came on this network a year ago and said Donald Trump overperformed everywhere and beat Democrats. Tonight, it's the opposite. Democrats have won everywhere and overperformed everywhere, and it's about one issue. And it's ironically the same issue that Donald Trump got elected on, and it's affordability. My firm knocked on 100,000 Latino doors in New Jersey over the last 4 weeks, and every time we opened the door and talked to a voter in New Jersey, they talked about their electrical bill, the price of coffee, the price of ground meat. People are sick and tired of paying too much for everything in their lives, and this election tonight, the Democrats took advantage of.
And Chuck, to that point, I want to ask you this. Is there a danger for the Democratic Party writ large to overread tonight's election results? Because if it is about affordability, affordability is about who's ever in charge.
Absolutely.
Not the party.
And you're exactly right. What scares me the most is that Democrats going to see what happened tonight and think we all got it figured out for a year from now. There's a lot that can happen between now and then. And I remind all my Democrats, celebrate tonight. It's a historic night. But tonight's not the same turnout you're going to see in 2026 in November. In these counties in Northern Virginia that jumped over 30 points performance for Democrats, you didn't have as many people voting there as you'll have voting there a year from now. This is not apples to apples. It's a different election, but it's still momentum and a good sign, but it's not the end-all, be-all.
Leslie, one other question for you. If you are a Republican advising President Trump right now, tonight, what do you tell him about the demeanor, the approach you take after these election results, and the remainder of however long this government shutdown lasts?
Look, the president has been talking about getting the Democrats on the right side of the issue when it comes to the government shutdown. He has pushed back. He talks about it consistently, and he's going to continue to put pressure on the Senate to get this done. He wants our workers going back to work. He wants our individuals paid. Again, I think the president has an agenda. He is talking about closing the border, making the economy stronger, strengthening small business, and we're going to see the after effect. These are two particular states, Virginia, that has a very large federal population, that skews the state. Excellent governor in Governor Youngkin, and my colleague is exactly right. But there were also 3 big losses under Governor Youngkin. He couldn't, he didn't win for the last presidential election and carry that over. It's a fluid time. Economy and economics matter.
Leslie Sanchez and Chuck Rocha, thank you very, very much.